Here.
Jeff Patke, Kevin Creedy,
Here.
Greg Scornia.
Here. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, approval of the minutes from our last meeting. May I have a motion to approve or any discussion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Parks report. Wayne, you have anything you want to go over?
Yeah, I have a few things to report. So the crew, everyone has been working, or the downstairs staff, the ladies, have been working on building the new rec software program that we're going to be using. So they've been working pretty hard since I've been here the last few weeks on just building it the way we want it and the way we want it to be able to use and make it user-friendly for the staff that will be using it. Then the guys out the shop, they've been doing equipment maintenance on a lot of the mowers and things like that that they do in the wintertime, along with trimming trees, lots of snow removal here in the month of January. And then we have plans to work on disc golf out at Berger, but it's been, with the weather, between the rain and the snow, it's been too wet. But as soon as the weather breaks, we'll be back out there working on that. And Parks crew finished the downstairs office, some of the renovations that we had to do down there just recently. And then we're also preparing to go out to bid on the library roof. So.
Okay, good. Any questions, comments? Communications. What do we want to start with? Who would like to come up? Anybody?
Everybody here has got something on the agenda.
Okay, very good. All right, old business, update on the fee schedule.
So you'll see in your packet, since I've been here, we've had numerous meetings with the committee that was put together to evaluate our fees. And in the packet, you'll find kind of what we've settled on based on surveys and talking with the user groups. And so attached in the packet, you'll see the current ordinance, the way it reads. And sorry about the scan job, it's a little blurry. But and then what our recommendation is, you'll see that we have $20 reservation fee per day for the games, and then $20 reservation fee per day for practices only on Ronzik, and then $30 per game for field lights, and that's $15 an hour just to pay for the electricity. And then a game is approximately 2 hours, so that's where the $30 comes in. If an organization was to only have one night game, we would charge $40, and that would pay the $30 for the electric, $15 an hour, and then a $10 reservation fee. And then also we have the $50 prep fee, and that's per day. So you can have, you know, if you're an organization wanting to run leagues on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, we'll drag and line and set out the bases for a $50 fee, and you can have as many games as you want on that field. And then we set the max fee per day for a field would be no more than $100. And then also, when we're working with these organizations, there'll be a $50 deposit required based on the previous year's invoice total. And then we also, we have in there, rates will be raised in conjunction with the consumer price index each calendar year. And so every year we'll reevaluate our fees, and on January 1st, we'll look at our fees, and based on the consumer price index, they'll go up based on that.
Thank you.
The only thing I would add, Sparky,
Yes.
one thing that's new this year is that the Washington Youth Sports Association came to us and wanted, just for those of you that have not been involved with these discussions, for years they've been prepping their own fields. and they chose, I think the individual that was doing the service for them indicated he could no longer go ahead and provide that. And so they went out for bids themselves, and some bids came back, and then we also, I think, as we told you last month, were going out for bids for that. I think you had 8 people pick up, but we had nobody returned any bids.
Correct.
So we will look internally to go ahead and prepare the fields, but that's the real reason why you probably have the field prep fee in there. It was to take a look at what's a reasonable charge to go ahead and do that. We also looked at other cities, what they were doing, and felt that this was something reasonable. We are still, obviously, I will tell you, $50 for that prep fee does not pay for what we have in it. We're still subsidizing that quite a bit, but that's fine. That's part of it. We wanted to be reasonable with the other cities and what they had. But that's the reason. That's something different that we have not done in the past. So that's the reason why that fee is put in. And then we also decided to go ahead and do that across the board, or not just single out. I think in the past, you'll notice on your last page, you had, might have had, yeah, you had an exception for Runzig Field.
Correct.
And we just, the committee decided after reviewing that they just wanted to charge the same fees across the board. And so it didn't matter whether it was Runzig or not. And there is more maintenance, you know, there's more maintenance that's needed at Runzig Field probably than other fields, but they still wanted to go ahead and keep the rates at the same to keep it simple. And I just wanted to share that with the committee because that's something different than, that came from the committee for the board, because that's something different that we haven't done in the past.
Right, right. Kent, you want, anything you want to say?
Well, I came just to, you know,
Are we, just say, are we recording that, Casey, or do you, okay, if you can come up here and I'll pull this right now. Sorry, you gotta face it the other way.
I just wanted to say that I was part of that process, and I think at the end of the day, we ended up at the right spot. You know, so I think, Sparky, you said it best the other day. You know, we were kind of looking out for our interests. You need to look out for the park, you know, obviously the financial end of it. I think we ended up in the right spot. And dollar-wise, I think it's fair. And, you know, we're willing to continue to do everything that we do out there. I know some of you were unaware of all the things that we do out there prior to this process, which was a good thing that came out of it, because now everybody knows a little bit more what's happening out there. And you know, we'll just continue to try to do everything we can do to be a positive influence out there. And you know, you're not going to hear a complaint for us about the fees, because I think you guys thought about it long and hard, and so did we, and I think we're in a good spot. So I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that you all put in on it, and you know, we'll just try to keep doing what we do out there.
I'd like to say thank you to you and the American Legion for all the work you've done at the Ronzig Field, and the Washington Youth Association, what they do for our other fields also. You guys do a great job.
Absolutely, thank you. You know, it's a labor of love. You know, it's something that we enjoy doing out there, and you know, there's some of you that are sitting here that maybe had never been to a night game at Ronzig, but if you come out there, I think you'll get a little better idea of why we're so passionate about it. I mean, to me, like I said, if you haven't been out there, you haven't seen it, but you know, there's a game going on, we have music playing, we have kids chasing foul balls and bringing them back for a piece of gum or whatever. It's just so cool, and unless you're out there and you see it, you don't really realize how, you know, what a value that is to the community. And anyway, we're just trying to keep it going and doing our part.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other comments on the fees structures?
So we need a motion to send this on to the council?
That's correct.
Yeah. So
So
we'll need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we send this on to council.
Second by Betty. We have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So be it. Thank you. Thank you for your work.
And the committee, just so you know, this is just this was just the baseball field. We're on to other pastures after this, so just letting you know.
Yeah.
We love to meet.
One thing at a time, yes. Next is an update on the aquatic complex.
Yes, so the survey, the aquatic survey closed yesterday, and we had 1,500 plus surveys come back to us. And so I'm working with George through Councilman Hunsaker on the next step and compiling the information and releasing the information, things like that. So you'll be seeing some of that here shortly. And then we'll take a look at what everything, how everything came back, so. Should have more on that next month, and probably in between too, so.
I think they should be very, very happy with 1,500.
I think we're very pleased with
Yes.
that type
I
of.
think that's,
Yeah, I think he was too. He said that was a very, very good turnout for a survey.
yeah, very good. New business, Missouri River Relief rental fee request.
So we have, I believe Mike Smith's going to talk about their program and what they do, and the possibility of having the fees waived.
Good evening. Thanks for putting us on your agenda tonight. I believe Kevin Tozzi, the activity director for River Relief, sent an email that you guys probably have access to, so I won't go into all the details that he already covered in that. But I thought a lot of you maybe aren't familiar with what we've been doing with our River Festival over the past several years, and we've been doing this for quite a while now, so I thought I would just give a real brief history and background of what we've been doing and talk briefly about the festival and River Relief. So back in about 2006, I was contacted by some people I knew from Columbia, Missouri, and they were looking to set up a river cleanup in Washington here. Missouri River Relief is a stream team for the Missouri River, and they were, like I said, they were wanting to set up a cleanup here in Washington and asked me to help set that up. And so we managed to pull one off. We were kind of low on the learning curve, but we had a pretty decent turnout and picked up a lot of trash there. But besides learning a lot of different things, the two big takeaways had from that initial cleanup was one, wanted to do it again, and two, wanted to turn it into a festival. And so probably the smartest thing I ever did was ask my friend Gloria Bauermeister, which I know a lot of you know, to help me organize a festival there. And I always say Gloria could probably manage a Fortune 500 company with her organizational skills. So anyway, we've been doing the festivals. Our first festival then was actually 2008, and we've been doing a festival every other year since then. So each year, each time we do the festival, we learn a little bit and expanding it, and it's gotten larger and larger each time. So the festival itself focuses largely on education. We involve the schools. The grade schools come down starting on that Thursday and have several different organizations that provide educational opportunities. It's an educational field trip for the kids, and if you talk to kids that have been through that, it's a very memorable experience for them. Gloria has pretty much taken over the organization of those types of events, and like I say, every year is a learning experience, and they just keep getting better and better. I'm just amazed to see what she puts together for that every year. The middle school, we've got involved in it now, and we've actually been getting the middle schoolers out on the river, which took some effort to get that organized and to get them out. And so I feel like we do a real service for the community here. So we clean up a couple miles downstream, a couple miles upstream, but we also focus very heavily on the riverfront itself here. So you'll see during the festival, you'll see people going near the old sand plant and up and down the riverbank here. So the riverfront's spotless when we're done. There's no trash. You have people looking for that last piece of trash to pick up. So the riverfront is far cleaner when we're done, and we clean up after ourselves. You know, we set up. It's a major ordeal to get set up down there for this event, but like I say, it always looks better when we're done than when we got down there. So. A little bit about Missouri River Relief, if you're not familiar with them. They do cleanups on the Missouri River from Yankton, South Dakota, down to the confluence. I like to think of them as a way of linking all these communities along the way here. They were given the keys to Kansas City because of the appreciation that Kansas City has for the work that they've been doing up there. Also, here, as far as local organizations that are involved, there's several civic organizations that donate, but this year Reekers Tire has agreed to pick up take our tires that we pick up. We get anywhere from 50 to 100 tires we pull out of the river, and in the past, River Relief has always loaded them up on a trailer and taken them back up to Columbia where they've gotten rid of them. But this year, Reekers say they're going to take care of those for us, so we're really happy to have that. Sometimes the river's too high for us to be able to get out. That's happened a couple of times where we haven't been able to get out on the river. So when we do have a situation like that where we can't get out on the river, we always have a backup for land-based cleanups. We've focused on Bush Creek, so we've done pretty extensive cleanup on Bush Creek, pulled out a lot of tires and trash from there. Went up St. John's Creek. One of the floods that happened several years ago brought down some compressed stacks of milk jugs from the recycling facility that got spread out across St. John's Island. There's still some there. We want to focus on it again this time, but there are thousands and thousands of compressed milk jugs that are up there on St. John's Creek. So we got a little over half of them last time, so we've been talking about getting back up there again. So the creeks here, down in the prairie on the east end of the Riverfront Trail, we did a big cleanup back in there years ago because of the floods. So another thing right now is, I'm sure you know, Rennoc Park there, you had to do quite a bit of excavating for the sewer system there, and that's an area that we a lot of times set up, and so some of our people on our committee have offered their services to help get that graded out and seeded before the event. You know, that would benefit both of us, obviously, because we'd like to have that area, you know, at least with some grass growing it again by the time of our festival. We know that, you know, it's not realistic to ask the Parks Department to focus on that just for us, but we have some volunteers who said that they would be willing to do the grading and get it all raked out, and if the parks could provide the seed, you know, we'd get it seeded and strawed and everything for you guys, if that, you know, that would be an option that you would be interested in. As was mentioned earlier, one of the things that we're hoping is that since this is a nonprofit and we're working on a shoestring budget, and that the service that we do provide for the city here in our community, that the Parks Department would look into waiving the fees, as they've done in the past. Every festival we've had up to this point, the city has waived the fees on the pavilion for us. So. Just in closing, you know, our event intentionally cuts across political and cultural divides. We like to focus on the river as a way of bringing people together. Like I said, I like to think of Missouri River Relief as a way of linking all these communities up and down the river. And I've gotten to know people from way up and down the river just because of involvement with River Relief over the years. Like I say, we do our event here every other year, but since we started doing this, in our off years now, New Haven has started doing a cleanup, and Herman has been doing a cleanup as well to, you know, kind of balance. So there's always some type of event going on in the area. So those are the main points that I wanted to cover. So like I say, the city will be providing a dumpster. I wanted to ask, just make sure, I mean, we've had a dumpster down there every time for this, and make sure there weren't any concerns about, you know, having our dumpster down there. And Jim Brinker puts a trailer down there he takes our scrap iron for us, so.
Just a question, Mike.
Sure.
What facilities have you guys used for these events in the past? Is it just the pavilion at the riverfront?
The pavilion and the grounds around the pavilion we set up. Other than that, the boat ramp, of course.
The courtesy dock?
Mostly we're loading, it's easier for them to offload and
Right.
load right from the ramp there.
Well, the people that are cleaning up, though, board off the courtesy dock, correct?
Some of them, sometimes they do, yeah, not always, sometimes they do, yeah.
But Wayne and Chad, the only thing we charge for rental fee is the pavilion down there, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
I mean, because there's no fees for that courtesy dock or that
No.
stuff. We don't.
It was, the total bill was $875, but it includes a $500 deposit.
Right.
So it's 3 pavilions on 3 different days at $125. So total minus deposits, $375.
And that's for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Correct. And again, for Thursday and Friday are the school districts coming down.
Okay.
Or, yes, yeah, the school's coming down.
I have a question, Mike.
Sure.
The other 174 locations up and down the river, do they have park systems also near the river? And do they waive any kind of a fee?
I wish I could answer that for you, Sparky. I couldn't say for sure. And I'm sure it varies, but if it's something that you really would like to know about, I can find out for you.
I'd be interested.
We can look
Okay.
into that as well.
Yeah.
River Relief has a really good website too, with a lot of photographs. I would encourage you to take a look at what they're doing. And like I say, I mentioned that about Kansas City giving them the keys to the city, just because I think it gives an idea of the reputation that they've been developing up and down the river over the years. So
And how many volunteers do you normally get?
at the last event, I think we had 170 people that went out on the river. So we were just looking at that number. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. And like I say, it gets bigger every year. We have, not including the grade schools coming down, so it's, you know, we have both parochial and private and the middle schools that come down, not including them. Our event, we usually have around 800 people that come down. And again, you know, if you've ever been to the Earth Day event in St. Louis, not to knock that, it's a wonderful thing, but a big focus of that event is vendors, people selling things. One of the things that we've set up from the beginning is that we don't want to do it. We don't let people sell things there. The focus of our event is education, connecting people with the river, getting people out on the river, and developing appreciation for it. So the more you know about it, the more you appreciate it, as you guys know. I know you guys go out on the river as well.
Any other questions anybody have?
Yeah, and Chad might be able to answer it. That 30 trash bin that he's talking about, 30-yard trash, do we have that in the city? Do we have one of them? I mean,
No, we've always just did regular dumpsters is what
Yeah, we went and got a dumpster farm in the past.
I think we brought 2 down last year, I think, and we sat down just on the parking lot for easier access for them to do.
I mean, that's
We don't
something
bring one
that
of
we,
them big roll-off dumpsters.
okay, we wouldn't have to purchase anything then, right?
No, we have that stuff in-house.
We have had a roll-off dumpster down there in the past, and trying to remember what the logistics of that, how that came about.
think they-
You guys have,
Street Department put it down there, I think. And
Yeah.
I don't remember where Tony got it from, but we've done it every year, so.
yeah, you have had the smaller roll-off, but we've also had the large roll-off dumpster down there as well, and we'll fill that thing up. If we can get the large roll-off dumpster down there, we definitely fill it. Like I say, because even keeping the tires separate, we'll have a full tandem axle trailer full of tires that we pull out of there, so.
Not really a question, more of a comment. I have volunteered with this organization, and I cannot say enough about them. I speak very highly. I was involved in the milk jug cleanup, and I just want to point out, part of the criteria in waiving this fee is it a direct impact on the park system? And I want to say by eliminating the trash and the potential of that floating onto the riverfront trail is by far and clearly a benefit to the city of Washington and the Parks Department, as the rest of the cleanup along the river.
Thank you, Gavin. Appreciate that plug for us. Last thing, there are families that we just know will be back every time we do this. They just fall in love with this event and run into some of these people in town. It's like, you're planning your event this year, right? And it's like, I just want to make sure that it's going to be happening again, because they really look forward to it. So by this stage, kids have grown up attending this event, either on the Saturday or coming down with their schools, and they really look forward to it. So again, sometimes, especially early on, I felt like a lot of this was going on under the radar of the Parks Department, and one of the things that we're really trying to do, one of the reasons that we're here this evening, is to get your blessing, get you guys involved in it, and develop an appreciation for what we're doing down there, and for the work that Gloria's doing, because like I say, she really is, she puts a tremendous amount of time into organizing this festival. So anyway.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Any comments from the board?
I would just like to go ahead, if we could give staff just some time to go ahead and take a look, come up with a proposal, and we can get back with you next month when you meet. I know there are events coming up in April, but I think we can come up with some kind of resolution on this.
Yeah.
There is, I know that they've waived those in the past. I just want to be careful. We've talked about this before up at this board. No offense, but you don't have the right to
Right.
waive fees. The council is the only one, unless they change the ordinance, is the way to go ahead and do that. But we have had situations where we've looked at stuff and said, is this a benefit to the city? Is this something the city can jointly work with? I'd like us to take another look at that and see what options we have available and get back to you.
Very good, very good. I have a question for you, Mike, also. Do you have a rainout date, or do you do it regardless of weather? What about? Okay.
Just since you're recording. No, there's not a rainout date. The only thing, like I say, is we have a Plan B in case the river's too high. And the Plan B is moving to a land-based cleanup, and we always have that kind of lined out beforehand, so.
Is there any sponsorship that you guys have at all?
Yes, definitely. We couldn't do it without sponsors. Like I say, the Boat Club, we haven't had anything confirmed from them yet, but we approach the Boat Club every time, and they always give us several $100s for it. Gloria can address all the sponsors if you would like to know, because there's a long
I
list of.
don't need to know them all.
Okay.
I'm curious if you had an avenue of money,
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I said, Gloria really has become after the first festival, we kind of split task a little bit. Gloria started focusing primarily on the festival, and I kind of worked more on the cleanup. end of it. And as far as the work that she does with the festival, a very big part of it is going after sponsors. So, yeah, she talks to people and does a good job of
Well,
Thanks for
getting
your
money from it.
presentation, and
I would like to ask, Gloria, do you guys have, your vendors, do you have vendors at the thing? I mean, that you charge, or do they pay to go ahead and be down there?
That's a really good question. We don't have vendors, so nobody sells anything except for we do have food vendors, and there's also drink vendors, but there is no, nobody comes and sets up, vendors for selling shirts or anything like that. But we do have a lot of educational exhibitors, so we have like the library that comes, and we have all kinds of information for families about the river and nature-oriented topics. And so these are all, they all bring, if they bring a hand-on activity for the families to experience, then they do not have to pay a fee.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
any other questions or comments? Thank you.
How many boats you typically have going out during this event?
You can answer from back there.
Speak up and talk
We can
from
repeat
there.
it. Yeah, we can repeat it.
It's very. It's varied from year to year, but 5 or 6. Mainly Missouri River Relief. Have you seen their boats? They're called plate boats. They're designed as a commercial fishing boat, so they're like a oversized aluminum John boat is what they are. The reason I'm not giving an exact number is because some years the Department of Conservation will come to and they'll bring a couple of boats as well.
That was my question. I wonder if the Department of Conservation could get in. You could have boater safety, there could be all kinds of stuff that could be involved.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
So with the Department of Conservation, there could be like a boater safety aspect, there could be all kinds of things
Yep.
involved in that type of
It
project.
keeps expanding every year. We keep adding more and more to it. Since you mentioned that, the safety part of it, the boat drivers for Missouri River Relief go through a very extensive training program. It's not just some guy with a John boat going out there for the first time. It's a very lengthy apprenticeship program that they go through. And so, like I say, they're highly trained. I know when we first wanted to get the middle school out there, you can imagine the first time, approaching the superintendent, saying we want to take kids out on the river, and they're like, you want to do what? And so when we did, it took a few cycles, but when we did finally get the permission, the bus came down, offloading the kids, and I noticed Brendan Mahon from the school district came down there, and I thought, uh-oh, here comes somebody who's going to be paying close attention here. This is going to make us or break us. And then I just, within a minute, I got thinking, you know what? These guys are so good at what they do. I just really wasn't concerned at all. And I talked to Mr. Mahon afterwards just to get his opinion of, because, he goes out on the river too, and he was thoroughly impressed. It definitely eased any concerns that he had in regard to safety. So, yeah, safety's number one with them.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. And thank you for a great presentation. Very nice. Next on the agenda is the excavator and skid loader. Wayne, you want to handle that?
Okay. So on Monday, the bid recommendation, I think you guys all have a copy of it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Went to the council workshop on Monday, and basically, staff have evaluated some of their equipment, and they determined that there's a 1995 Ford backhoe that needs to be replaced due to ongoing costs and maintenance issues. And in researching that, we found out that for approximately the same amount of money, we could get a skid steer loader and a excavator for relatively the same price, and have two pieces of machine that can be working at the same time instead of just one as a backhoe. And so we can purchase a Bobcat compact excavator and a Bobcat compact track loader on the interlocal contract through cooperative purchasing. And so we're looking at a budgeted amount of $131,000. And so I just wanted you guys to see that and know about it. Like I said, it was at the council workshop went through the council workshop on Monday.
So do we need a vote to support this? I
Yes.
think we have in the past.
Okay.
My vote hinges on yours.
Yes. Yeah. So
I want to know what you think.
I'd like to have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we support the purchase of the Bobcat and the mini excavator.
Second.
And the second, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, Wayne.
All right, thank you.
Next is the fairground main stage fence.
All right. So you should have copies of this too. I gave you a copy of what's up on the screen there. We're having some minor computer issues there where I can't get both of them without scrolling down, and Chad can do that on the screen at the same time. But you all have paper copies, and I have a couple extra here. So we have in the budget through the half-cent sales tax to replace, or not replace, but to add or I guess essentially replace a temporary fence that is put up during concert events at the main stage. So you'll see on the screen and what you have in front of you two different proposals. One is a proposal of having the fence basically go around the perimeter of the fairgrounds there, or the main stage grounds there. And then the second one, Exhibit B, is similar to what the setup is now, with the fence there with all the gates, the 4 different 12-foot gates. That would be essentially the temporary fence that we put in now for user groups. So on the write-up, you'll see that there's been some questions on the scope of work, and with Exhibit A, I'll kind of go through the bullet points here, would meet the requirements of the half-cent sales tax with some limitations. It could potentially be over budget due to the amount of fencing and labor. And the budget, I believe, is $100,000. Traffic, with cars coming in and out of the gates there on Grand Avenue. Yeah, Grand Avenue. There could be some traffic tie-ups, especially if you're charging cars there at the gate to get into that big green grassy open area. And I kind of will read this from Mark Scornia. There still needs to be some sort of quick release, emergency egress in case there was an accident or shooting or something like that. People need to get out quick. And so what has been done in the past, that temporary gate, the pink gate that you see there on your sheet, or fence, I should say, was put up with, it was like a rental fence, and so it was put up with zip ties, and then essentially if something would happen, you could cut the zip ties real quick and the fence would lay down and people could escape. So the problem that we're having with the temporary fence is for potential renters when they come in and want to rent the main stage, they're having to pay for someone to install the temporary fence. And we're hearing a lot of renters are saying that's too costly to do, and so they're just not renting it. So with Exhibit A and B, if we go to B, the setup is similar to what's put in now. Instead of being the temporary fence, you would have a permanent fence, but it would have 4 gates with it. So instead of cutting the zip ties if something would happen. You have 4 different gates that people could get out of. And so with this proposal, it would meet the requirements of what was kind of passed in the half-cent sales tax for the project, would reduce rental costs to potential user groups because it would already be there in place with the gates, and then potentially be within budget. And then going back to Exhibit A, Exhibit A would also cover future, for the fair. If we did the big perimeter fencing, it would also cover future fencing plans for the fair if they wanted to expand. So I know we have some people here that would like to speak about the 2 different proposals, and who would like to speak from the audience? Hopefully I did a decent job of explaining that. It's relatively new to me, so.
Fair board meeting this evening, and they apparently have key issues, so. Good evening. We presented this to the half-cent sales tax, not necessarily on behalf of for the fair's gain. It was for the gain of the park. Everything is fenced in except for that area. And one of the things that we had heard in previous years was that the reason why the stage wasn't being rented out was because there wasn't an area that was able to be fenced in. So when we took a look at it, we said the fence should continue down Grand Avenue and just cut across Veterans. So now the entire park would be fenced in from main stage down to the motorsports arena. So that would also give that area, if somebody just wanted that area to use, not everybody's going to want to use that area for parking. And so they may use a different piece for parking, or they may not want to even, they may use Eckelcamp's lot. I don't know. It just kind of depends on who it is and what they want to do with it. But I can tell you on behalf of the fair, I wouldn't be, I don't think that putting a fence where the temporary fence is it's not gonna, it's gonna hinder future movement out into that area, because now you've got a fence there, where we're gonna continue to use at this point, I can tell you, we're gonna continue to use that area for parking, and we'll still put up our temporary fence for during the fair. But at some point, if we need to expand, that's our only expansion that we have in the fairgrounds. Now we put a fence up, now we have a barrier there that we're gonna have, if we wanna bring something else in or something big, now we have a fence, basically, I don't wanna say in the way, but in the way, where we'd have to shovel them all through different gates to get through it. So really, like I said, we didn't do this to help the fair, we did this to help the park, basically to help the park and to encompass the rest of the park, and that's how we presented it to the half-cent sales tax committee.
JB, what does
Yeah.
the fence look like? Is it
It's
comparable?
just the exact. It's the exact same fence that's there.
Is it the exact?
Identical
The
to
black.
the existing west gate?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So it won't look like our temporary fence. Is our temporary fence black or galvanized? This would be black, just like what the rest of the fairgrounds is. It would just be
Same fence
same
that sits in
thing.
front of the stage, but it'd be taller.
Right.
I have a question for you, Steve. Under normal circumstances, what's the life expectancy of a fence like that?
It's got a lifetime warranty on it.
Paint and everything, weathering and,
Well, we did so in the last half-cent sales tax, we did the fencing around the black chain link around the motorsports arena. And then, so it would be just, yeah, exactly like that.
Okay, I'm confused because, okay, on A, you show that to stay as a temporary fence, but yet you're saying this is supposed to help renters, okay, with not having to put up a temporary fence, so if
You would
we
just
go
use
into
it all.
Okay, so you don't, then you don't
Renters
have to
would
have
have
a
that.
fence?
I think I understand your question, and my answer to that is anyone who rents the stage, say like Oxfest, if they put the fence on, was it B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You use Exhibit B, you wouldn't have to put a temporary fence up there for like the Oxfest or anybody else that
It's already
uses
up
it.
there.
Thanks. which they put it up, it's 4-foot fence, and they have it up within an hour. I helped with it last year, helped with the year before. And I'm along with JB here. If somebody wants to rent out the park, I would rather see the fence over up by Grand Avenue because it finishes the project completely. You put it down the middle of the field and you say, well, what the heck is that thing doing out in the middle of that field like that? And I talked to Mark a little bit before the meeting here, and I understand some of your concerns there about backing up traffic out there on Grand Avenue trying to get into that parking lot if somebody wants to use it. If, when we did this project for the Halsted sales tax, this is the drawing that we come up with. This other drawing, I have no idea where it came up with. I guess Chad came up with it on his own. It's not what we told people that we were gonna do. So Exhibit A is what we told the taxpayers we were gonna do. Now, to take care of the problem for the traffic on Grand Avenue, if you had the backup problem, if you took the fence and put it just on the other side of the road and brought it up the road and take the gate away that's down on the south side and put it up there where the first entrance is into that parking lot, and then take it across the road again and then come up and put the other gate in, you could come use that whole driveway for, you know, backing up your traffic to get into the parking lot.
Is this something that, I mean, you hear discussions, but then when you actually see it on paper, I'm just curious, timeline. Do we have to decide on this tonight?
You got a little bit of time left, I guess. The goal
Yeah, I
is
don't
to
wanna-
the goal is to have it up certainly in time for the summer season.
Right.
For all the events that we may have up there. I mean, Oxfest is obviously after the fair. I don't think we have anything before the fair, do we? That somebody would rent?
East Central, would they?
Yeah, but they don't charge, they don't have an admission fee.
Oh, okay.
So that's a free concert, so they're not concerned with that.
Well, the reason I ask is that, you know, like, I'm not saying I'm one way or the other, I just like to go out and look at it. I'd like to see it as opposed to this kind of a thing, and now we're talking about moving the line this way or that way, and how many gates, because, I mean, it could be really a good thing, but you've got to think about, and I'm just saying, play soccer out there, how, you know, I just want to visualize it. I want to see how these cars are going to get in and out.
Well, and I think that, you know, you make with Exhibit A, now you leave that area completely wide open.
Yeah.
Exhibit B, you cut that area basically in half.
Yeah.
Correct.
Chad, how many times a year do we rent the main stage?
Right now, it's just a couple times
Okay.
because of
Yeah.
the
once or
cost.
twice.
Okay.
There is a Christian concerts they've been asking about, and I think they want to bring like 8,000 people, and that's one question they've asked is about fencing and stuff like that.
Do you have any handle on why we don't rent it out more?
I think this is the main reason.
I
I think
think,
it's because
I-
they want
it
to
is-
charge, and you don't have a way to go ahead and,
Keep it.
you know, keep it confined or whatever. They have to put up their own, like Oxfest puts up their own fencing in order to go ahead and do it.
The thing
And we
about-
had one other thing, the Lakeside Concert Series thing, we had that, they did one concert there with the Lions Club and
Casey's.
Knights of Columbus.
Right.
Casey's.
But they had to put up their own fence too at that time in order to,
But the other thing, if you take A and use A, that way you're controlling all that ground. And if you use B, people can sit right next to it.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't throw them out.
Well, that's what happened at the Riverside Festival, when we did that the one year. I was involved in that committee, and we had the temporary fences like the fair has, but people would park their cars and sit outside in their cars and never paid to get in.
Yeah.
So you'd have that issue as well.
Well, you'd have more control over it this way.
Right.
I still think you'd have to put temporary fence up, block the street off.
But I like what Sully's saying about changing this down at the corner here, because that could be a mess.
Yeah, and getting back to one more thing that I think Wayne brought up, or Mark brought up about fire department wanting to get in there in case there's an emergency. Mark, has there ever been a time where you guys would take an apparatus through the ditch of either parts of these fence areas?
Through the ditch? No, up by, we've done the west gate.
Yeah, okay,
Yes,
but the gates they're gonna remain the same places, but they're gonna be bigger.
Yeah, the one on the west there on Grand Avenue, yes, we've had apparatus in there to fight fire, and also for, there was a problem with one of the rides, and then coming up by the cattle barn there would be another one.
Okay.
So those
But not in the area where there's a ditch though.
where there's what?
where the ditches are, on Grand and on, what's it,
Veterans.
Veterans Drive.
You're staying on the pavement.
Coming up into the parking lot, yes, we have a crossfire in the parking lot.
No,
yes.
they just,
You'd have to go through, to get to there, you have to go through it anyway.
I thought I thought
The only thing correction I could do is, over by the cattle barn, I don't think a 22-foot gate's big enough.
It's not, there's more than 22-foot gate there. There's a 22 and a 14.
Well, it says 22 on my,
It's not on,
I know you said this, but
I don't think you'd make that with a bus and a
No.
pricing,
trailer.
is A more expensive than B?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Do we know?
looking for it.
You're adding about 426 feet. If you,
Okay.
you know, do-
And what kind of approximate cost is that, Steve? You know offhand?
Probably about 16 to 20,000. Just guessing.
For what now?
The 426 feet from stage to Grand Avenue.
So is that going to put it over budget by that $20,000? Is that?
Well, I know we had a budget, I thought it was 110,000, but they said 100.
100,000.
And I got preliminary numbers back on material, and I've been working on that. And back when we did this, I think it was just material costs anyway, and we didn't have a labor cost put into it when we went into the half-cent sales tax. So it's gonna be close to 110,000 to do Exhibit A. That's what I'm saying right now. But I wanna say that because you're gonna go out for bid, so now everybody knows.
One question there, the fence you said would be on the inside of that road then, instead of by the trees?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I think that makes,
That makes more sense.
Is there a need to? I mean, you can still run them through that gate, just have some cones or something in there. I mean, it's just a.
Well, I think the trouble is the cars backing up out on Grand Avenue.
Right.
Right.
Open the gate down near Lions Lake, still send them up the road, but. Because if you move the gate to the, if you move the fence to the inside of the road, now you're gonna need a gate at each one of those crossroads or somehow to get in there to allow parking. So
Move this
leave the
gate
gates where, leave the
to
fence
here.
where it is. You set up some cones, you give them enough room for 10 cars, and
so you're gonna
if somebody jumps the cones, obviously you're gonna go chase them
See,
down.
that's parking for volunteers. You know, they control that. You don't-
Kevin, I think in that
Nobody
aspect,
can.
like even for the Miller Post Park, people parking on that street right there, that's where they park in that little corner right there.
Well, you could.
If that gate's closed for a reason, they can still park on that side.
This entry gate. will have to
You know what I mean, if we leave that open, I think that, I
It's-
mean, I know
That's
what
no
you're saying,
park-
there'd be added gates, but.
Jeff, I think that's no parking along that whole street because it's a walkway that goes along there.
But I'm saying park on the road that's on the inside the park.
Inside of the park.
So move this fence to the east.
Correct.
And then that road would be accessible to park alongside, so you don't have to park on Grand.
Where in,
The east side of north-south.
where in Exhibit A then do you set up your admission gates?
Starts at that west gate.
Where it says existing gate.
Says existing west gate, and the purple line goes down towards the stage.
so
You're gonna put up a temporary, you're continue to use a temporary fence?
Yeah, during the fair.
Okay.
Right, we will
Then-
during the fair.
Then also, what about access from Lions Lake into that field area across Veterans Drive the other 360 days of the year?
All those gates will
It'll be
be.
a 4-foot gate
Same
there.
way you go to it any other day.
Yeah, well, right now, you can walk across the street and you're in the field, there's no fence.
Wait, I thought you were talking about driving in it.
No, I'm talking, general park usage,
There'll be a
flying,
walk gate right there by the stage.
yeah.
That's the 4-foot gate.
And not another one between there and Grand?
From there to the Grand, that's what's on here, it shows.
Okay,
I mean, you can put another walk gate through there.
I think that'd be a
Gates
good
are
idea.
expensive.
I would think we should.
I think so too.
I mean, just because during the rest of the time that the fair's not going on, people could get in there and access.
Somewhere in that line, you could put another walk gate.
Steve,
Donated by-
You're
question.
talking about from here to here?
That'd be donated by the Woolley family.
So Steve, a question I have, then that temporary fence still has to go in, so like renting it out, Chad and Wayne, you were talking, that was one of the issues they'd have to pay for. So if you rent that out,
It depends on how they did their layout. From my understanding, even marking, if they're gonna have cars parked there, there's gotta be a temporary fence.
that was my question, okay.
There has to be a barrier.
Some type of barrier.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
During the fair, they
Besides
use
cars.
for a barrier along the temporary fence.
Or you can charge a car to get in When they, down here.
Once they're in, they're in.
When then they're in.
There are a lot of places, fairs and other places where they charge and you park on the actual ground. I mean,
That's
you have,
something else. Right.
and you know, they park on the grounds.
Right, but the temporary fence would still have to go in. What Mark?
Or a barrier, yeah.
Some kind of barrier.
Oh, good, you're up here.
That was my question.
Good evening, Mark Scarney, Emergency Management Director. Just to be clear, as far as the fence being, east or west, from a safety standpoint, that's not an issue. The safety standpoint, as I was talking to Wayne and Chad, you need to strike some sort of a balance between protecting the crowd that's going to be there from, somebody just driving in and deciding they want to park or whatever right behind your chair. So there's a balance between protecting the public there and also giving them an egress out of there during some sort of panic event, be it a storm, be it whatever. And that's why currently, whenever the temporary fence is set up, there's a 16-foot section, 2 8-foot sections that are set up loosely with like cable ties. So, in the event there's some sort of a panic at the main stage, those sections of fence flop down and people can get out. So we discussed, that would always need to be there, even if you would do the permanent one where the temporary fence is shown. So like I say, it's just a balance, striking that, protecting the people and allowing them to get out. If you pay for admission in, you should be able to get out. So.
And if we do stay with the temporary fencing, we do have emergency gates and loading ramp gates in that temporary fencing.
Mark, are you comfortable with just these two exits if something did happen?
There's 3, and, I really didn't go look into the codes as far as capacity. If you were to have that completely full of people, which I can't imagine, the code would probably require more egress than that. But with parking there, you essentially have 3 ways into the parking lot. You would have the one at the corner of Veterans and Grand. You have the one on Grand. And then you could come in the gate down by the cattle barn and still come in from the back way.
Still the northwest gate.
And yeah, it's still the northwest gate. So that you could get in. So there are multiple ways that, I really haven't studied code-wise, exactly per the square feet, et cetera. But, I think this is a pretty good plan. I do agree with the gate for someone a walk gate in that long section would be a good addition.
And the fair has an emergency plan.
Yes, yeah, there is an emergency plan for the fair. And as pointed out, that 22-foot gate down by the cattle barn and Veterans, that is a mistake. That was going to be 2 gates of...
One's gonna be a swing gate, and the other one's gonna be a roll gate.
Okay, and how many feet total?
30.
36. Okay, so, our codes require that a fire lane have a minimum of 26 feet. So, the gate down there at Veterans and Grand meets that criteria, the 30-foot gate on Grand, and then you have the large gate down by the cattle barn. So as far as ingress and egress, everything's good with that, if that makes sense.
Predict being able to park in.
Oh, JB could tell you that one.
I don't know if I can tell you that one off the top of my... I'd be wrong if I told you. I know our parking total is about 3,000 cars, but I don't know in that area specifically.
I guess all I'm saying is if that to me is a big area, if anything ever happened at the fair again, to get all those cars out of those 2 gates.
That's the only way they can go out the way they are now.
You're gonna have, you have the same problem now.
Yeah, they can't go.
You ain't gonna get in the car and leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
East
Not
Gate,
for a
you got
storm.
the ditch there.
But then again, Betty, again, the fair board has an emergency evacuation plan in place. So they'll have that part of it taken care of, but them cars won't even be leaving.
They do.
Are these
They
gates
took 'em to the
gonna
Elks.
be locked?
Well, they will be during the fair.
Yeah, I know during the fair, but I'm talking about the
Well,
rest of the time.
They shouldn't be.
I would think they would be open, just like all the rest of the gates,
And
since
then,
it's...
and then they go around at night when the park closes and lock them up. Like,
Well,
They don't-
that would be open all the time.
Yeah.
They-
It'd just be
Okay.
open all the
It'd
time.
be the same as the other big gates
Okay.
in the fairgrounds.
And, you know, getting back to the gates down by the cattle barns there, the reason why Wayne and Chad and I walked out there and we discovered a better way to do this so we can make that entrance easier for a bigger vehicle to get in there. You come down the asphalt drive from the stage and angle out to where if a vehicle had to get in a tractor trailer or apparatus, it has more room to get through that gate that way.
Okay.
So there's going to be a walk gate there as well as a,
Well, there should be a walk gate
At-
in
at-
this long,
There's 2 walk gates up by the stage. There's one at the top of the steps and there's one at the bottom of the steps. And down by the cattle barn is just 2 big, large gates. Those will most likely be open during the fair. And the temporary fence that runs in front of the stage runs over towards the cattle barn, and that's a secluded area, so you have to have VIP passes to get back there.
well, what's your deadline? For us to, I mean, do we have time to go, we wouldn't have another meeting until March.
I think you're fine with time frame. I think you can go ahead and wait. That gives, if they want to tweak this design up and then well, if you guys want to provide input in the meantime, go ahead and do that with, you know, with Wayne or Chad, or with Wayne. Just get it to him, and then, like I said, we can take it and bring it back. It's just a matter of going out for bid.
I don't think you need to,
Haven't gotten there.
it doesn't need to be processed and given out bids till May, start of May.
Good.
Yeah, but how much steel gonna go up between now and then?
Yeah, that's true.
What-
How much what?
How much steel gonna go up between now and then?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, if we get it together by March, we can decide by March, and we can go out and look. We don't know who came up with Plan B.
It was
I don't
in-
know, because Plan A
It
was
just
what,
appeared.
Plan A was what was presented to have
Right.
sent, so yeah, it was new to me as well.
About Plan
It was
B.
discussions between the staff and stuff that we come up with that to
Okay.
try to stay under budget
Okay.
with the fencing.
Well, what is the budget? Is the budget 100 or is it
100,000.
110? It's 100?
100, yes.
I can verify that tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it's 100,000 that was put in there. I know there was some talk about 110, but I think that was part of what we had to cut back.
Okay.
Steve, that was the only material, though, you're saying?
I gave, price on material quote that the guy gave me 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was before the election. It was April of 18. So,
Prices were down.
that's the winter, last winter.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I hate to sit here and tell you exactly how much it's gonna cost, because it's gonna have to go through a bid process.
Right.
I probably said more than I probably should have.
Steve, how much is your?
Well, it's gonna come down to where the fair board's gonna have to put it in.
The only thing I hate to see, but is that the sound will all get.
I want to tell them that.
Okay, any other comments? So we're going to have this back on the agenda for our next meeting in March?
Your leader.
Sorry, what? I'm sorry.
I said, any more comments on this? But we will
I guess
have
if
it
anybody
on the
has any
agenda.
questions, they can contact one of these 2 guys or me, and I can go out there with them if they need any questions answered.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, Spark.
Pardon me?
Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. No, not me, not interrupting.
Interrupted all the time anyway.
Doesn't bother me. I was just wondering, one question would be, is there another one drawing that could cut $10,000-$15,000 out of this in case it is over budget? Would you look at that now rather than waiting until the,
JB and I and Chad have been looking at this for like 4 years, and everything that we have on here really needs to be done. And Danny's, he's with the fair on the entertainment too. I mean, if you see of anything that you think we can delete, let me know, or let Chad know.
No, I want to add to it. I want to make it Merle Gates.
Do what?
Well, all of them are
All
roll
of them are
gates,
roll
They are roll?
except for that one 16-foot over by the cattle barn. It'd be a swing gate.
Because there's not enough room, you can't make a 36-foot roll gate. So, it actually kind of works out nice, because you can kind of keep that roll gate and you can open and close that one swing gate.
My drawing's got swing gates on it, so.
Well, just a drawing. I can show you Steve's drawing if you want.
Any other comments? Questions? Thank you very much for the presentation. Very good. Wow, we're down to the next meeting is March the 6th. Anybody have anything they want to bring up? I need a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Well, we got two motions and one of them's going to be a second. Alphabetical order.
Don't make any difference.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So be it. Thank you.
Okay. I'm still confused. I'm still confused.
I am too. But that was a good game. I think this is gonna, to me.
Oh, my gosh.
Your fence is off. What? It only gets rented out 3 times.
I hate them.
I agree with you. It's all open.
I hate the fence.